everybody. I'm Audrey Moore with Audrey Helps Actors, and today we have episode number 37, Opening Up the Vault to Heaven. Okay, so today we have the incredible Laura Spencer with us today. Laura Spencer, she is just a magical, beautiful little angel. That's what she is. She is a powerhouse actress. She has been a recurring and series regular on several shows, including Lizzie Bennet Diaries, Big Bang Theory, Bones. She works all kinds all the times. She's been in tons of commercials. She's just a real pro. And she reached out to me for this podcast. She had listened to it, and we decided to do an interview together, and we talked a lot about how we were going to go about it. This is a very personal interview, and I think that you're really going to love it. So many of you have times in your life when things blow up in your face, and when you're living a freelance artist career, I get a lot of people who reach out to me having just undergone something very intense and life-changing, and keeping your career momentum and keeping your life together is very challenging. So we talk about that, and I'm so honored that she came on with me to discuss that. I do want to do a few shout outs. I love all of these reviews. So the Bethany K, LaCarpsicle, Amanda Fugate Moss, Skylar Denny, Duran Cash, Das1. That's so great, you guys. Thank you so much for the reviews. I love when you guys leave me reviews. It makes me really happy. This episode is sponsored by WeAudition.com. 25% off WeAudition.com using the code Audrey25. And the one and only great, fantastic Dana Patrick. She is amazing. Okay, we're going to get right into it. This is the impeccable Laura Spencer episode. I hope you're on your way to an audition.
Audrey helps actors because they don't know anything.
Hi, everybody. I'm Audrey Moore with Audrey Helps Actors, and today we have
Laura Spencer.
Hi, honey.
Hi.
Laura and I have discovered that we are living like parallel lives, I feel like, right?
Yeah.
But we're both getting married.
We sure are around like within
like
weeks
a week
of each other. Yeah.
right? Word. That's nice. It's like my bride bestie right now. I feel like somebody gets it. So I just want people to have a little bit of a sense of where your career is now. You've been out in LA for like 7 years-ish?
It'll be 9 years
Great.
In January.
And you had gone to school for acting. You've been acting since you were a wee babe like everybody else, right?
I haven't been acting since I was a kid as far as,
Professionally.
Professionally.
But you were like in plays and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, truthfully, I guess I was like always interested in acting as a kid, but always did a lot of things. Like I was a dancer and was in the school band, played the flute, but I didn't pursue things professionally until my senior year of college.
Okay, great.
When, I met a casting director in Norman
Oklahoma.
Norman, Oklahoma.
For those of you not familiar with the Oklahoma landscape.
Exactly. But he also is an actor himself, and he runs this place called the Actor Factory, which is like they bring in people from LA. They're like
a horror film.
They're putting a seal of approval on all people leaving.
The Actor Factory. Come meet your doom. Right?
Which, in fact, it's the exact opposite. It's
sure.
like this lovely place in Norman, Oklahoma, where you have access to information of what's going on in Los Angeles and New York and Chicago and even the local market. So I worked in the local market before that, and then got my SAG eligibility that way.
Love it.
Through a film in New Orleans. And then when I was ready, because that is my personality, I had my resume, I had a demo reel, I had my SAG eligibility, and I was finally ready to move to LA.
Okay, so then let's talk about now. Where are you as far as your resume, your reps? Like, what's the landscape look like so people know?
So My landscape. I just keep thinking about that word. My landscape. It's it's a little bit barren right now.
Oh, God. It's going through a dry patch.
Definite drought.
Yes. Uh-huh.
We're getting that drought resistant.
There's some fires
stuff
happening.
There's some fires. Oh
God.
No, but I definitely have had some success in the last few years where I was simultaneously working on 2 network shows. That was sort of the peak of my career thus far, because what we're going to talk about today, in the midst of all of that, is when shit hit the fan in my personal life.
Right.
And it has been a strange landscape ever since for me, because I don't know what is linked to what would have normally taken place or what is a result of that
shift
happening
event.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go ahead and out you career-wise a little bit, because I just love actors like lip dance stuff. So she was recurring guest on Bones.
Yes.
And then you also had a really great run on Big Bang Theory. I mean, 3 seasons on and off?
I believe I was on... Technically, my character spans 4 seasons.
Good.
But that's because I come in on a girlfriend's returning in 10
Oh, that's right.
episode.
That's right.
But my arc was through seasons 7, 8, and 9.
Did you learn anything about multicam auditioning in specific versus maybe a single cam auditioning?
I think that that before I always thought that it was so different, but really the only difference being that you should be word perfect, especially what you're saying with the writing of Big Bang. The writing is good. If you try to add on to that writing, you'll kill the joke.
Yes, that's
they
right.
have scientifically and musically put it together to work and get that laugh. And if it doesn't work, they rewrite it. And so I really, that solidified with me of just trusting the text and really trusting the punctuation and understanding that it is written a certain way. You need to memorize it and honor it as such, as opposed to something where it's like, you know what?
My joke's funnier. Right.
Well, it's like, I'm going to button it this way. Or the casting directors being like, you don't have to be married to the text. Like, we're looking for good people with improv and things. And that actually always stresses me out more than
you like to
being
be supported
told
by
that
the
I have a
text.
parameter to work within. And all I need to do is say these exact words. But then I can add a little spin on it of however I want to say that word. But that to me is what is the true difference. And also just filling the space as though you're performing for an audience. That doesn't mean bigger, campier acting. It's just being on stage is different.
It is. It is different. But wait, Laura, wait. I'm sorry. I do have to interrupt you.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you shit you didn't know about your union.
This shit you don't know about your union is brought to you by WeAudition.com. WeAudition.com. I'm going to read to you a little message that I got, a little shouty shout out. Gave you a shout out on my Facebook Live today for telling us about WeAudition.com. I used it for the first time today, and I can't stop raving about it. Thanks, goddess. Why? You are so welcome. So I really love WeAudition.com. You guys, I'm telling you, just go try it out. So many of you are like, what can I do today? How can I work? And you know that saying, be the change you want to see in the world? This is a really small way that you can be the change you want to see in the world. Sign up for WeAudition.com. It's very affordable. It's even super more affordable when you use the promo code Audrey25. Go on there and help somebody learn their lines. Help somebody audition. Do it for free even, because you're an actor who's helping people. I help actors all the time. A friend of mine came in. I helped them self-tape yesterday. I did it for free. I don't take any money for any of that. I just help people, and I say, you help me back. I help you. You help me back with self-tape. So I think it's so important for you to be of assistance to others and let others be of assistance to you. That is what give and generosity is. So do me a favor this week. If you feel so inclined, sign up for WeAudition.com. I'm telling you, so affordable. Promo code Audrey25. And just once, maybe twice this week, just be available to be a reader for somebody. Help them learn their lines. And then, if you feel like it, ask somebody else to help you learn your lines. Cut out all the time that you'd be spending in traffic. Cut out all the time that you'd be spending chatting with your friend and being like, blah, blah, blah. How was your day? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, finally, we'll do this audition. Cut right to it. Get to the work. Get it done. Be of service. Okay, weaudition.com. Promo code Audrey25, founded by an actor for actors. Okay, so this shit you don't know about your union, this is about another union meeting that is coming up that's super important. Okay, you guys are all following the Strike BBH stuff that's happening. You're following what's happening in the commercial world. I love these meetings. So this is Monday, April 8th, 6 to 8 p.m. Again, that's Monday, April 8th, 6 to 8 p.m. at the SAG-AFTRA headquarters. There is free parking and there is snacks provided. I will be there unless I get some kind of serious regular audition. But otherwise, I will be there. Come, say hi to me, meet me. Monday, April 8th. 6 to 8 p.m. There is going to be a meeting at the SAG-AFTRA headquarters, free parking and snacks provided. We are here to keep up the good fight. You know, we have representatives working so hard, taking time out of their lives right now to be in New York and to fight for our contract and our rights for us right now. We have to show them our support. If you were doing something where you were like, Audrey, I'm going to go fight for actors everywhere, and I'm going to take 2 months out of my life to go to New York City and do that, wouldn't it make your heart swell up with love if everyone showed up to a meeting to talk about it, to talk about what you were going through, to give you love and support? Like, wouldn't that just mean the most to you? So again, be the change you want to see in the world. Go to this meeting. I will be there Monday, April 8th, 6 to 8 p.m. I will see you there. Unless I have a serious regular audition, but that's the only reason why I won't go.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
So what we're going to talk a lot about today is like this, you have this career and it's like chugga, 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 chugga. And you're like, choo-choo, the train is going. And this is something I talk to a lot of actors about and why I'm so passionate about us having this conversation, because I've had this happen in my life and a lot of people have had this happen in their life, but you have this career going and then life happens. So we're going to specifically talk about like your life happening, but I also want to go through the list that I had told you I had of things that have occurred in people's lives that I know personally. I know these people and I know what happened and I know how that affected them. So these are like life events that has occurred to actors that I know in the middle of their career. It's not short, you guys. Okay. So you have twins. Surprise. You got pregnant, but now you're pregnant with twins. Your dad dies. Your brother dies, and now you have to take care of their children. Your fiance gets cancer and dies. Your wife and child almost die in childbirth. You have a sick family member that you have to go and take care of. You get married to somebody who, oops, they're British. So yeah, now you got to move to England. You start having seizures. Your boyfriend kills themselves. Your husband kills themselves. You get Crohn's disease. Your agents retire. Your agents steal all of your money. The market that you have been pursuing and successful in just dies. A trend occurs and what you have been pursuing suddenly is no longer existent. Or say a writer's strike happens. These are all things that I have experienced. And what happens is, you can speak to this, you have momentum, right? And a lot of a career is about building momentum back up. And then when you build momentum and something occurs, it can be scary for an actor because you feel like you don't want to lose that momentum. But also you need to like acknowledge whatever life happen thing is actually happening.
Right.
And those can be very challenging because my experience is that I felt like I was losing time. I was losing time. And you and I have talked about like in general, our casting, like we tend to play up people, like people who are bouncy.
Yeah.
And optimistic, excited, enthusiastic, you know. And if you don't feel like you're even fucking interested in accessing that, that can feel like, for me, it felt like I was losing. It felt like I was losing time. It felt like I was losing valuable time in my momentum, is how I felt about it.
Right.
Even though I was aware that like it would be okay. And I had like created the momentum in the past. I would create momentum again in the future. Like it was all okay. But that is sort of what my experience was. So we'll start by saying, so my brother died August 2015. Those of you, I talk about it on the podcast all the time. He drank himself to death. And it was not like he like drank and then like got into a car accident and then like died, or like he drank and like fell over on like the roof or something. You know, he drank until his organs shut down and he ended up dead. And that was a real, it was many years of struggle, I will say. And that was shockingly, weirdly, it was shocking how painful it was, and how painful it was in a different way than other losses I had experienced before. And yeah, it was really hard. And so you had an experience of your own.
Yes. So how do you want me to go into this? Do you want me to just
Whatever you feel like. Yeah.
Of course, this is like why we're doing this,
Yeah,
because
right.
I came to you saying that I was going through something and that I hadn't ever talked about it publicly as far as what that means to be a person out in the world on social media and people sort of following your life. And but my brother also died. What happened was out of nowhere for my family. My brother was killed. And it was, this happened in the midst of when I was on both of the shows. And having,
like towards the tail end or right in the middle? At
it
what
was
point?
Right as I was starting season 9 of Big Bang Theory. And I forget what season it was of Bones. But so basically, I was pinned for an episode of Bones that was going to start, I think, a week or two after the news of my brother being killed.
And your brother died about a month after my brother
September
did, right?
2015. And
now we're getting married.
It's crazy. It's so weird. The parallel. It's bizarre. And I didn't even know that parallel whenever I contacted you. And so anyway, what do I even want to say about it is because I don't want to compare and I don't want to be in a state of that. I guess I just want to share like my journey with this and how it has affected things. Is that pretty much, life was the best that it had possibly been in Los Angeles at that time. I had just met who I'm now going to get married to, Michael. I had just met him in January of that year. I was busy working. I loved both of my jobs. I loved both of my jobs so much. I never, sometimes I'm around it. Sometimes I'm around actors who complain while they're on set. And I have never been that actor. I have always actually felt every time I'm on set, I am very happy. And I'm very grateful because of all the steps it has taken to get to that point, and very aware of all the other friends of mine, colleagues that are actively trying to do the same. And when we get those opportunities, to me, it's like, there's not.
Seems like a miracle.
It's, And so I was in this stage of my career where it was the highest of the possible high. And then one afternoon, I get a call from my mom telling me that my brother had been killed. And I thought he had been killed in a car accident or something. That was where my head went. But then my parents went on to tell me that he had been murdered. And just to put things in perspective, this is not something that was remotely in the cards for my
his
brother.
life. It wasn't like he was living this dangerous
He was not living a dangerous
Yeah,
life.
right.
My brother had just moved to Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
He was an editor for commercials. Lovely, sweet, funny, just like
Really out of nowhere.
It was out of nowhere. And he is my only sibling. And he was 2.5 years older than me and was my best friend. And he was also the source of my artistic confidence. He not only was completely a part of physically helping me with my job, like he would make all my reels, and he was very diligent about looking through all my material and giving feedback on what scenes he thought were that he liked. He watched everything I was in. I mean, even as a kid, he came to my dance competitions and I went to his things. It's like our parents really brought us up in a household of supporting one another's endeavors. And so when we were old enough to form our own bond outside of just obligation of siblings, we decided we really actually thought each other were cool.
Yeah.
You know, and so he was who was the person who could immediately, if I was having a bad day and I was having doubt, I could call and he could get me out of that way of thinking within minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't have that anymore. Not that my husband-to-be can't provide that, but it's different.
Of course it is.
Because a sibling bond is, as you know, it is the most unique form of love you will ever have in this life. And they see the world the most similarly to you. And it's a shorthand of communication, and it's no longer something that I have. I can imagine the advice he would give me, but it's not the same. When I'm having a hard time and when I'm having a moment of doubt, depression is such a hard and exhausting thing to be inside of already. It takes an immense amount of effort to coax myself out of that.
Yeah. And do you feel in general, because I know I'm this way as a like positive, enthusiastic person, that like in talking specifically about depression and grief, like I know this sounds silly, you guys, but like I really don't like it. Like I really like, and I feel like there are people who are kind of good at being sad. Like they're good at being low energy. They're good at being sad. They're sort of like have a set point that I would say is emotionally on a like just heavier scale.
Yeah, and in life you kind of come to just accept that as part of their existence. It's not something that can bring down a room or anything. It's just that is kind of who they are.
Right.
But yeah.
And then I live on, I'd say, a very enthusiastic, excited, interested plane. And part of what is so exhausting and frustrating about grief for me is feeling like it's like taking away my juju, like it's taking away my identity, it's taking away like the juice that is what Audrey brings into the room.
That's exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
I prior to my brother dying, all the work that I had pretty much booked in Los Angeles, and before I was playing optimistic, innocent character that lit up a space that brought levity.
Yeah.
And so then, and I can get into other details in between this, but there were certain auditions after Daniel had died that I would go into, and I was just walking in with the biggest wall up because I did not trust the environment I was walking into, and why should I have?
Right.
It wasn't safe for what I was going through at the time. I still believe that.
Yeah.
I think that I was carrying that. And when you have a wall up, I mean, that is clear as day to anyone.
Yeah.
And if they don't know what I'm going through, then they probably thought, I don't know what, I have no concept of what I must have come off as in these rooms, but I definitely was not myself. And I have in turn had a bit of an identity crisis as of late, because I want to know, am I different? You know, because I even felt in voiceover auditions that my voice quality sounded different.
Interesting.
And
I bet.
Yeah, it's just I'm kind of obsessed with how I'm perceived now in an audition space. Less so very recently. I feel like I've come to some recent realizations as like you and I have met, and as I've been listening to your podcast, and as I've just honestly started sharing more. This was the point of it for me, is that you had said to me when we met that I was almost not. I was quieting of my voice, and if we don't have a voice as actors, like what do we have?
What do we have? Yeah.
And so the journey of even talking about, and it might sound dramatic, like, oh, I just was like not and also it probably sounds inaccurate. Everyone in my life that knows me well absolutely knows what happened. It's that I've never shared it publicly for strangers that follow me or fans of my work that follow me. They don't know what has happened.
And so it feels like a wall, I would imagine, between like who you are and who you're presenting yourself to be.
I feel like I'm walking around lying.
Right.
And which is a bizarre way to feel about it, because in one way I am sharing posts about grief, but it's like a general post about grief. I'm not saying I lost my brother.
Right.
I lost my sibling.
Right.
I'll even post photos of my brother, but I will never say his name, and I'll never say that he died. And I just think, what am I doing? But I kind of justified it for a while because of the nature of how my brother died. There was a trial process as well. That's a whole other part
thing
of my journey. We didn't even participate in the trial until 2.5 years after my brother's death.
Yes.
Which was, I don't know when this podcast is going up, but that would have been early 2018 that the trial was.
Yes.
And so I'm, still coming off of finally having a bookend to closure, in a sense of just sort of, okay,
that is what it is.
This is what it is now. And now there's nothing left to do,
really.
And we have to now accept it, even though it is nothing that any of us want to accept. The trial, it did not go the way that we thought it would. It has been this whole other source of trauma.
A whole nother thing to grieve, really.
Yeah.
Because you had an expectation of your brother living, and then you had an expectation of
justice being served. Yeah.
And now you're having to re-grieve the loss, and then re-grieve your expectation of the justice, which is now the injustice you feel, and come to some sort of living, like living around here. And I can completely see why the word that keeps coming to mind to me is metamorphosis, like what your metamorphosis is. And it makes a lot of sense to me, because you had shared with me, like, this is the first real experience of grief in general that you had.
Yeah. I have to accept what happened as part of being able to just decide to take a step forward.
That's right.
And keep going.
That's right.
And I think it's an incredibly hard thing to do, whatever your job is.
Right. Yes.
Or whatever your life circumstances are. But I have found it to be particularly hard in this industry to trust that things are all going to work out.
Yeah.
And trust that, like, my hard work is going to pay off, because nothing went according to what we thought it would with the trial process. And it was just this sudden, another rug swept out from underneath all of us, that, like,
it's a betrayal.
And that life doesn't work like that. And I feel embarrassed to admit That I kind of thought that like if you worked hard enough that you could get I really believed in that dream.
Yes.
Because it, to a certain degree, was happening and
Right.
unfolding that way.
Yes.
And then suddenly it stopped going that direction. And
Yeah.
I've been slapped in the face with this just like crazy lesson about life. And I'm still having to remain hopeful because that's how you survive.
It is. And in this business, you have to have a sense of it's hard because it really, I mean, I know that you had listened to the first few episodes, but you know, what Scott and I talk about, which I love so much that we addressed, is sort of the pressure cooker experience of the audition.
Yeah.
And that it's like whatever is going on in your life, it's like if you got whatever issues you got going on, those whatever 5 pages that you're going to go in for those 5 minutes and do, it's like a pressure cooker on all of what you've got going on.
Yeah.
And then one of my favorite acting phrases that I was taught, in college by a wonderful woman acting teacher, she said, "You can't act around where you are."
Right.
She said, it's basically like it's a young actor thing to think that like you're going to pretend you're not here and you're going to act over there. And you can get over there, but you have to get over there through going where you are first. And that's particularly painful in my experience if you really don't want to sit where you are. I don't want to sit here.
Yeah.
If I'm like an optimistic, enthusiastic, excited person, and over here just feels pretty shitty. I don't want to, and then my audition is, multicam. Like, right? It's real. It's like, I don't want to go through this to get through there. And also there's like a real thing about it requires our authenticity, but sometimes my authenticity didn't feel professionally appropriate.
Right. It's
Right?
interesting to me because I track that. I agree with it.
Yeah.
But I definitely had a kind of an odd, like a different experience with that because so right after Daniel died and I went home and we did the funeral. I made the decision not at that point in time. I didn't want to tell the producers of Bones what was going on until I was there. But I made this specific decision to meet with them at my wardrobe fitting and tell them then.
Yes.
Because I wanted them to let the cast know what had taken place so that I wasn't telling them on the day that we were shooting.
Great.
So that everyone had time to process pretty monumental information and that they also could know that I was okay to talk about it and that I was voluntarily wanting to be at work.
Yes.
That's what I needed at the time.
Yes.
I remember at the time feeling this great relief that I was going to go into the brain of Jessica Warren that day. And it actually clicked into, and I think it was also combined with the fact that I was definitely still in a state of shock.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say.
What had happened.
Sounds to me like shock.
Shock in my personal life. So I was
Right.
able to dive into this other person's
Totally.
brain
Right.
and be in that life. And it is what I absolutely needed right away.
Yeah.
Because if I had to go home and sit,
Right. Oh, I know.
I just really don't know what that would have looked like.
Yeah.
And then I think it's just the fact that I went to work right away and everyone was sort of with me right as it happened. There was something that stuck with all of us.
Well, if I can track what it sounds to me like is you had this terrible, sudden, horrible, traumatic tragedy happen. You were in the middle of work and in shock and able to have the support of the work and the people of the work. And meanwhile, you can't really fully grieve yet either because you have a trial that will be impending. And then it sounds to me like, the shows as they do move on and acting careers move on. And then a trial happened. And it seems like 2018 is really like the first time you're really able to process what's going on.
There's room now in my brain.
Exactly.
And it's what's really funny about it is that because there's nothing funny about it. Right. There's my therapist told me recently that because I had actually weirdly started seeing my therapist a month before my brother was killed. I just happened to already be in therapy, and then suddenly it changed to grief counseling. She wanted to keep me on board because that's certainly not what I was going to her for. It was more, I have long since forgotten what I had originally gone to therapy for. I thought I had an idea of what it was. She recently reminded me that all the things I'm feeling right now, all the doubt and all the wondering if I want to do this for the rest of my life, I came and said that to her.
That's interesting. So I want to talk about that because here's what I love about that conversation is this is actually really common. And I have a saying for it. I call it getting your toe shoes, because when I was in ballet, there was this phenomenon that happened where everyone wanted to get their toe shoes. It was like whatever you could do to get to your toe shoes. And only a few people really wanted to continue to be ballerinas in toe shoes.
Wow.
So what would happen is all these girls would work for years to get into their toe shoes, and then they would get into it, and then they would quit ballet. Because the discovery of what really is involved in being a ballerina on your toes in toe shoes is quite a shocking and shocking and sudden reality check about what you've been dreaming of.
Right.
And that all of the beautiful dusty buttons out there and their incredible leg extensions on their toes are magical, but in order to do that there's a high price to pay. And I have experienced that, like, a lot of people will get into like an advanced level acting class, and once they get into the master class, they bounce. And it's because they kind of just wanted to know that they could do it, right? And then what I experience is a lot of people professionally, and this is part of why I'm excited to have you here and have this discussion as part of it, is I'm really interested in season 3 being a lot about what I will call like a phase 4, because I've done phase 1 is like, I want to be an actor. I'm just getting my headshots, just trying to figure out how to live. Phase 2 is like, I maybe have some co-stars, maybe I guest star, I've got some footage. Phase 3 is like you're kind of regularly hitting your health insurance. You are more people, when you tell people your agent's name, they don't go, I don't know who that is. Like, people know who that is. Your resume starts to speak louder than your headshot. You don't really need a headshot anymore because it's your resume and your reel are doing the work for you with your agents and your pitching. You have relationships with casting directors. That's to me like phase 3. And I'm discovering this phase 4 world of like where you sort of go, which is true for each phase, where you get to the next level and you're like, wait, is this what this is? Is this it? Is this what we're doing? And a re-shifting your expectations, because I think we'll spend 9 years or more for many of us just trying to get to phase 3.
Right.
And it's one of the few professions, and why I do this podcast, to be like, here's what phase 3 looks like.
Right.
So that when you get here, you're not like, this is what it looks like. That you're like, oh, okay, so this is what it looks like. And I think it's common, I'm discovering, for people to get to a level of success as an actor, which you spend your whole life just trying to get. And then when you're there, I think a couple things maybe happen. One, the energy is in the conquering, right? And so like, I remember Bruce Jenner saying like the most depressed he ever was after he won the gold. After he became the super athlete. He was depressed forever because the joy was in the conquering of that.
Apparently the same is true. There's a phenomenon that is about actors, and when they win an Oscar, it's like
Oh, I'm so sure that's true.
the day after is
Just like the saddest day of your life.
Yeah.
I totally buy that.
Yeah,
I
same.
so buy that.
yeah.
And, we all know about like post-show blues, right? Like you finish a show and then you just want to like end your life. It's like
Seriously,
no,
though.
it's real. Post-show blues is so real, whether that's you're doing a play at 17 or whether you're doing Bones and Big Bang Theory. Like there is a real, or you get your guest star. Like people will do like a guest star and it just feels like so exciting to sort of do it. And then you're like,
Well, that was the only negative that I felt at the
Yeah.
time of when I was really on the high of on these shows. I knew that I had work. I knew that Bones was still on the air. Big Bang was still on the air. That
Yes.
people, that my character, like every script I would get with Big Bang Theory, I would double check that he wasn't breaking up with me at the end of the episode. And
Yes,
then I knew
right,
that I
yeah.
was at least going to be on
Yeah.
for one more thing. And I would always just like lap that up. But
Yes.
the one massive thing that hung over it was knowing it would end.
yes.
And what would that feel like?
yes. And so
yeah.
what I feel like is where you're at is kind of this twofold place of where I think all actors who reach what I will call now, what I'm sort of discovering is like a phase 4, which is like, okay, so now what? So like I did it. Like I did it. Nobody can say like you didn't do it. Like nobody can say, well, Laura Spencer, she tried for her dreams, but she didn't really do it. Like for anyone's expectations, you did it, right?
Yeah.
Are you walking around with 16 Emmys? No. But you did it. You know what being a working actor looks and feels like.
Yeah.
So you have, I think that, which I have experienced myself and through others, is a real thing. It's like, okay, cool. And then the discovery, which I've discovered, and I know it's so sad because I always know it's there. And I know everyone tells me it's there, but it's this discovery that feels like no matter how far you go, nobody cares. And, it's just nobody cares.
Oof.
And it's hard. It's
Oof.
really hard. And I can't tell you the number of people, people whose just life and careers and resumes I would always have killed for. And I just think and I'm like, you can't get an agent? What do you mean? And I will have conversations and I'll be like, I need you to call these 3 casting directors and be like, help me. And they'll report back to me that the casting directors have the same reaction I do of like, what, agents don't like working actors anymore? Like, what are we doing? It's like this weird thing that occurs. And so you're having, I feel like that, which I think is a thing that actors just have, because I feel like there's like, because everything comes in waves, right? But in this expectation of like catching this one really great wave, and then you catch it, but then the wave is over. But I have experienced the pain feels deeper to me, because it's like I caught the wave and now I know like how great that wave is.
Yeah.
So not being on that wave, then you're chasing that next really high wave, right?
Yeah. Yeah. First of all, I have to
so
track
ready.
it back to when you said toe shoes.
Oh God, I'm so excited.
I thought you meant like the outdoor toe shoes. And I was thinking, okay, where
what
is
toe
this
shoes are we talking
going?
about? No, ballet.
No, that's a really great way to look at it, because the first thought in my head when you started describing that, I thought the toll it takes
Yes.
on you.
Yes.
And I do think that I'm also experiencing the feeling in conjunction with getting older
yes.
and having had parents that were not in the industry remotely. I don't have family in the industry. I'm from Oklahoma.
Right.
And so I have the example before me is a mother who was a teacher
Yes.
and a father who worked in state government.
It's so
and
casting though.
it's-
Like teacher and state government. I'm just already.
And it's just this, I saw my parents, they raised me, they were
Yeah.
at all the events. They, you know, I had a childhood that wasn't inundated with, you know, if my parents had been known like famous people or something, it's like I had a normal existence. And I think about, okay, well, so what are my actual goals here? Because I would hate to be the point of successful where my privacy was given up. I don't really feel that my privacy is given up
right now.
Only, I don't think because I always feel grateful when anyone recognizes me because I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I'm special.
Yay, I'm still relevant.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see how long this lasts, you know. But no, it's always, I don't think I've ever had an instance where I've been ever bothered by that. But I wonder if I'd feel differently if I was with my child.
Yeah,
if I would feel mother bear protective of that moment,
Yes.
you know, because it's one thing with just me, but come after my kids, I don't know if I could do that. And so that's been a large thing in my mind of just trying to navigate. And it was really nice to work with Emily Deschanel because she was a huge example early in my career to be able to see a woman who
had it all.
In my head, she and still has it all. Like, she was number one on that call sheet. She was playing such an interesting character. She has multiple children. She, like, when I was on the show, she had another child, and we would like stop everything for her to nurse. And I was like, this is the best set ever.
Yes.
That this just feels so conducive to someone living their life and also getting to still have their job. And I'm like, that's what I want. I want to be on a show where I'm employed for years.
Yes.
And I get to raise my kids and see them and support my family. It's a hard thing to navigate in my mind because you can't control your success level unless you just quit.
I love the reflectiveness of this conversation because it's something that I just want people to know is real and exists. And not only just the actors who are working their way up, but all of us at this phase. I am so exhausted by this pretense and guilt and shame that occurs by feeling like there should be some other reality happening and you're doing it wrong because there isn't. And that's really heartbreaking to me because I have the ability and the benefit of knowing so many actors and being an actor that all actors tell the truth to, right? And not just like sort of give me like the happy version of what's going down.
Right.
And so I'm like, you're all in the same boat. You know, I just want to be like, and if that's true, then that's the way the business is. And if that's the way the business is, then we can have like a comeuppance in a conversation about that that's the way the business is. And then we can take part in A, accepting that, and B, possibly changing it and having just a general sense of camaraderie with each other and care and nurture instead of hiding and shame. And what it reminds, it's so funny you bring up motherhood, like what it reminds me of is what's happening right now in the mother movement and the mom movement of like this shame of pregnancy being hard, this shame of being a mom being hard, this shame of the struggle, this shame of all of that. And women getting together in these Facebook groups and all that and really letting each other know like things are normal and that happens and you're not bad and it's not wrong. And, you know, feelings are feelings. And some women have hard pregnancies and some women have easier pregnancies and you're not bad because you had one and you're not, you know, better because you had the other. Like things are what they are. And wanting to create an environment wherein we can be real about it.
Right.
Because I'm just too tired of having conversations with phase 3, phase 4 actors, honestly, with any phase actors, and me being like, oh no, it's like this. And then being like, it is? And I'm like, yeah, no, it's like this. This is what's happening.
Yeah. I feel like the people that I know who are the most successful friends of mine, while they are, you know, able to enjoy certain parts of their success, it's probably moments of their deepest depression that they're experiencing. And that has caused me to reflect.
Yes.
Because, you know, I'm aware that at some point in time, I thought that you get to a certain place and you're well off enough to not have stress in general in your life. And it's like, what kind of nonsense is that?
So it feels to me like you're going through what I feel like is what I'm realizing is very normal of this like leveling up gap, right?
Right.
And the level gap after you've been to level 3 and you're like, I thought level 3 was the magical level. So you're having that. And at the same time you're having that, you are also just now starting to really process what I would say is major trauma and grief.
Yeah.
And you're processing it, I'd say, double-fold, because you're now really able to start processing the trauma and the grief of the event and then the trauma and grief of the trial.
Right.
So that sounds like a lot to me.
It's a lot.
And so I will say to you what I say to what is my favorite thing that Milton used to say. It makes me just be very emotional to say it to you. Be nice to my actress.
Yeah.
Is what he would say. And I love that because we just can be so hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Because as I look through all of it, it's almost as though I'm trying to figure out why things aren't the way that I thought they would be. And a lot of the source, I feel like I'm sort of blaming my grieving process or the time that I've needed or whatever it is. And really, who knows if this drought would have happened regardless, and it would have been fine as well. And I do feel that as I have tried to navigate what to do with these feelings, it is clear to me that I can't help but do something about the bad attitude, you know, and the to shift it. Like I can't stay in it too long, and I think that's a good thing. Like I it's not that I'm not acknowledging it. I'm full on acknowledging it, but I feel that the biggest surges of education in this journey or just when I've really learned the most is when I'm depleted in my resources and I go, I need help.
Yes.
I need help, and let's do this together. I suddenly realize there are other people around. I'm not alone. And that's part of the reason why I was open to coming on here. One of the questions, because I told you, I said, I need to talk to my therapist before we do this to see if this is a good idea, and making sure I'm not making some rational choice.
Right.
Or irrational choice, rather. Because admittedly, I've found that I'm very I'm soaking up all of the advice, you know, in all corners of life, which is kind of just, I think, also the nature of actors. But I told her that we had spoken. I told her what we were going to possibly talk about. And she asked me a set of questions to kind of check, you know, what my intentions were. And one of the things she said was, do you feel like if you listened to an episode and someone was talking about this, that it would help you? And I said, yes. Yeah. And
I love that.
Yeah. And but that's what you've given. That's what you gave me before I ever met you. And that's what all the actors that have come on your podcast have given to so many people. It's that the generosity of what you're doing and what you're, you know, I think you said something like, I'm trying to like, get through the gunk and be transparent and reveal all this stuff. But like, you're also just the authenticity with which you are moving forward in this is so evident. And it is the best gift that you can give. Oh.
No, it's emotional because I'm just so proud of you for coming on and joining me in it, because I know that it's really hard. And I know it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage, particularly at the level that you're at. It takes a lot of courage to come on and to say that you are scared or that you're sad or that you're frustrated, because there is this facade that is held up, I think, when you get to a level of trying to convince people that like now you're impenetrable.
Yeah.
And so when you feel like you're not that you're being penetrated, that it's very scary.
Yeah.
And I so appreciate what you say to me, because it is, when you talk about the authenticity, it's because it is so my intention. It is just so my intention. I so believe in actors. I so believe in storytellers, and I so believe in art. And I said this to you when we met, like, there's so much value in what we do. And I've discovered more and more of that as I've gone through more and more trauma.
Right.
And I've become so grateful to all of the entertainment that I have available to me and all of the storytellers who get me through all of it. And I'm just I feel so honored to be part of a long lineage and tradition of people who've been doing that through the history of time.
Absolutely.
And I just want our journey to be a little more compassionate, a little, just add a little brightness, a little softness, a little just like a sense of like, I got you.
Yeah.
That's all. And I think that business is so competitive that it's a natural thing to be competitive, and I'm fine with that. I love a good competition, but I think that they can coexist.
Yeah. I think about what got me through besides general hope.
Yeah.
To be here today, in the state of mind that I'm in, to me feels like survival. And part of that survival, a huge part of that survival, has been art.
Yes.
And so when you speak about this and that we are part of that, that does realign the intention.
Yes.
It's, again, it's fine to have healthy competition, but if you are just going through auditions, putting the weight of the audition on booking work and getting a job and being back on set and all of these things, it's rare that you will probably get that job. And but when you are aligned with whatever the character that you are portraying's journey is, and their wants and their fears and their vulnerabilities, their needs, their whatever gets them off, whatever it is, it's like that experience is so alive, and there's everything is blocked out when you're aligned like that in the work. And I feel like the same can be said with music.
Absolutely.
Paintings, all of the work that helps us survive was not made out of anything but pure intention of the work itself.
Yeah. And to take that even further for like my point of view about actors, and it's hard to have this point of view because there are so many of us. And I'm always saying to people, like, don't let the fact that there are so many of us for a moment devalue your purpose.
Yeah.
But what I want to say is, and part of why I'm so passionate about the transparency is I think that it's a really beautiful act that we do of service. And it takes people inside of it to really know what it is.
Right.
Because it comes at a cost. And it is, the price isn't always cheap. And it requires a sense of courage and diligence and grit and bootstraps and all of that is as true for any profession of anything that is of value. And because there are so many of us, I think that can get lost. And because that gets lost, then there's this feeling of people when they get to a level of feeling like they have to hide what is really happening. When I hope that in the reflecting of ourselves, not just through the work, but with each other, what the work really looks like, that we can start to get a sense of real honor and continued pride about what we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's a huge give. Personally, I think being an actor is a huge give.
It's really beautiful to hear you talk about it and see you specifically so moved by this and see you and be grateful that you are pursuing this. It's like you are absolutely someone that should do this with their life because you are so in tune with why and what it means that you're doing, and it's not lost on you. I think it's easy sometimes to downgrade what we do. I've personally recently been in such a downward spiral that it has affected just my general opinion of me and other actors. Just it's like, man, we're so self-involved, and I'm so tired of being with myself because of all this shit I'm going through and all these things. It's like, can't I just start thinking about other people? And that's what you are saying is like we are in service to the human condition. Like it shouldn't be self-serving when we're really locked in on it. It actually is a certain type of service, which is a new way for me to be looking at it today, because that's what I feel like I'm lacking, especially in the environment of the world that we live in, beyond my own personal tragedies and traumas, just the tragedy and traumas that are happening every day. And we're so connected to those things, and it's impossible not to be affected by that and feel helpless, or even when you're helping, feel like you're not doing enough, or what is my exact skill set in this world? What can I do to help in addition to this? And I have that's part of the struggle right now that I'm trying to figure out, because I want to be of service.
I'm really excited about this next phase for you. Like, what I can see is just a Laura Spencer that has more perspective, a greater sense of just general human understanding based on what you've been through, and what you're going to be able, because your work can't stay the same. It can't.
Yeah.
And I see a opportunity for so much added dimension and dimensions is the best word, but it's like just texture, because you've gone through something and you can't unbecome what you are now.
Yeah.
And adding that to the tapestry of what you're now going to express, to me sounds really exciting. And I'm sure that you're probably up against, a casting and a wanting you to be the thing that you've delivered yourself to be.
Definitely.
Versus like a growth of who you are now. And I think that is the creative process. The creative process is, problem. I've been this. And now I feel more, I'm all of this.
I've learned this.
Yes.
How can I
solution? What's the creative solution to showing them and getting the opportunities to now show all of this, bring all of that to it?
And I think part of it, like you said, is connecting to your voice and not silencing
That's right.
yourself and your experience. And coming out from under that is a step that I admittedly haven't taken.
But when you were ready to, you did. I think it was like, I don't begrudge you the time. I think you've been through something really, really hard. And I think you've had to stay silent about it. And I think all of that is completely reasonable. I don't think anyone who knows what's happened would ever have told you that you should have handled anything any other way. You're not like a person who like goes around making like poor, shitty choices. Like no one is like, that Laura Spencer, she just goes around willy-nilly making just a bunch of shitty choices with her life. Like, it's not who you are. Just blindly living life, just clapping around, just causing chaos wherever she goes. Like everyone just pick her up. Like that's not, it's not who you are.
Thank you.
Of course.
I feel like I should say thank you.
Yeah, of course. But sometimes you need somebody to reflect that to you. Okay, so now we'll close.
Okay.
And I have questions I ask everyone.
Yes.
So like social media.
God. Oh, social media. My social media.
Do you want to plug who you are?
I'm primarily active on Instagram. That's
Me too.
That is my main.
She likes photos, you guys.
I love photos, turns out. So it's Laura Spencer on Instagram.
Do you want to spell your name so people?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
so my first name is not It's, but that is spelled ITS. LAURA SPENCER.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Okay, good. But wait, Laura, wait. I'm sorry. I do have to interrupt you.
Help me. I need some help.
And now it's time for listener questions.
I'm so scared.
This listener question is brought to you by Dana Patrick Photography. Dana Patrick Photography. Dana Patrick is the best in the West. I love Dana. I have shot with Dana for years, and I always say everyone goes to Dana eventually. That's my theory, and that's the truth. Dana is so, so fantastic. People get great shots from Dana. They work. When I started getting auditions of a serious level, it's when I changed my photos from, random photographers doing it like every 6 months to finally shooting with Dana. And I just had a friend shoot with her, and he was talking to a coworker of his at this restaurant. And the coworker looked at the shots and were like, wow, these are really incredible. And he was like, yeah, I got them from Dana. And she's like, yeah, I just, I can't really afford headshots like that. Like, I just can't afford to have them right now. And he said something that I thought was so smart. He said, you can't afford not to have shots like this because you are a reflection of your materials. And if your marketing materials are unprofessional, are sad, are a little unclear, then that's what people are going to think about your product. It's no different than when you go to like a restaurant and they have pictures of the food, but the pictures of the food are like kind of muggy and kind of sad. You don't really want to eat that food, and you definitely don't kind of really want to eat there anymore either. Versus if you go to a place and on the restaurant menu, they have beautiful pictures of beautiful, beautiful items, and that's what everyone chooses. So that's what I say to you. Your materials need to lift you up. Are your materials as good or better than your acting? If the answer is no, then you need to take a look and reshoot as soon as possible. And I recommend Dana Patrick. I've worked with her for years. She gets me great shots. When I went into my commercial agents and leveled up for commercials, they looked at my Dana shots and they were like, wow, Dana shot these? And I was like, yeah. They're like, yeah, she's so good. These are really incredible shots. And I didn't have to go and take new shots. You guys, that never happens, that you go in to an agency meeting and they don't say, I'm going to need new shots. They were like, these are incredible. Her website is danapatrick.com, and you can find her on Instagram at Dana Patrick and at Dana Patrick Photography. All right. I love you, Dane.
Hey, Miss Audrey. This is Thomas from San Francisco. One of the short films I did about a year ago is showing at Tribeca this year. So, of course, we're going to go. We're going to go to the screening. There'll be a Q&A after that and maybe a red carpet thing. But I was wondering how to make a networking activity out of going to Tribeca. I've gone to the website. There are a lot of things that are available, but I was wondering, have you been? You got any suggestions? Love to hear it.
Okay, so if it's your first time going to a film festival and you're going for a short, I really recommend that you just go to experience the film festival for the first time and sort of dip your feet in. As far as like networking opportunities are concerned, film festivals are giant scams, kind of, wouldn't you say, honey?
Not Tribeca.
Okay. Most film festivals, not Tribeca, are kind of scammy in that they're trying to use the film industry to come in and, give their city a bump for a moment. But Tribeca, obviously long-standing, and New York, it doesn't need your bump. So how you would network and take best opportunity really depends so much on the film, how much exposure it gets, who's behind it. If you're in a short film that's directed by J.J. Abrams, well, that's probably going to get a lot of attention, and you can go around and go to the parties and talk about that. If you're in a short film that nobody's really heard of and doesn't get much traction, then I would say you're probably there just to party and mingle. When you're at these parties, it's good to go up to people, talk to them, ask them what they're there for, what they've been working on. I'm not sure how Tribeca works and how snooty people are. They might find out that once you don't equal money to them, they might walk away. But I don't really know. That's how some film festivals work. In general, I recommend people go to film festivals with a publicist or with a producer or with a manager who's going to really work the room with them. Otherwise, I think you're kind of flying blind. There are publicists who are specifically for film festivals, and your film will often have a publicist attached to your film. So I would talk to the producers and find out what they've got going on as far as the film and its exposure, because it's up against a lot of films. So it's not unreasonable to think, and often they do hire publicists for their own purposes. And it's kind of hard because there's a lot of different elements involved. Being a lead in a short film that nobody really knows about is one thing. Being a lead in a short film that people are looking forward to is another thing. Having a small role in a short film that nobody knows about is one thing. Having a small role in a huge, short film that everyone is really looking forward to is another thing. So, I say go and learn, and only way to find out if it was effective is to go and get better at it for the next time. Good luck and congrats.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Why acting?
My biggest excitement in acting specifically is the moment when the set is built and the costumes are on and all of the other artists' work have kind of come together, the lighting design, the sound, seeing it all together in this little mini world that someone created first in their brain and put on paper is the most magical. I mean, that's like that's it. I love the creation of all the parts coming in together to make the idea.
I agree.
And
It's
I
creative
love
collaboration.
Yeah, and I love to be a collaborator. Like
Mhm.
I do actually. This is why I hate self-tapes, which might be my answer to what I hate. I like being directed. I like collaborating. I like hearing, oh, you want to, okay, cool. I like all of it, or seeing the wardrobe that I wasn't picturing, but going, oh my God, yes, this totally is this person, and justifying another artist's decision. And, oh, this is what my apartment looks like. Fascinating.
Yeah.
You know, like
yeah.
it's just that
love
is
that.
cool.
That is cool, right?
That's
yeah,
really
I love
cool.
it all coming out of everyone's head and coming to
Yes.
life. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so worst part about this business is self-tapes.
It's not the worst part of this
I'm
business,
just
but
It's up there.
self-tapes, the reason I said that is that I just think it's the perfectionists. Like,
Yeah.
it's just not good for people who are perfectionists, because
You
there
can
is
always do better. You feel
because,
like,
well, yeah, it's like if I'm controlling my environment, then I've got to make this tape perfect, which is so not what the goal should be with a self-tape. But it inevitably is a lot of the time with me, and it's hard.
I feel that way.
But I think in adding to that, what was the original question?
What's the worst part about the business?
The worst part about the business is feeling anything that detaches the human part to it. So what I don't like is I don't like that I am in essence a product, that me as a person is also a product. I accept it as part of it in a way. I get it. I'm fully aware of it. But when you're going through life and you're going through these real things, it's a really hard realization to accept. But it is something that is mandatory to accept, I think.
What do you wish somebody had taught you or managed to get you to understand when you were just a wee babe entering this business?
What we've talked about as far as knowing what to expect in each level as much as you can, even though, you know what?
You'll be
Maybe I
surprised.
don't wish that, because if I knew what to expect everywhere, I probably wouldn't work as hard.
That's good.
I think that not knowing, as terrifying as it is, has led me to making every decision I've made along the way that has made me work harder and made me come back to the joy and the actual like full-on love of what we're doing. I guess really honestly, I think I just wish that I had been told that it wasn't linear. If I could have just been told that, it would have saved me some amount of frustration that I do think took some time.
Heartache. Yeah.
Yeah.
I absolutely understand.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for coming and joining. And I don't know when we're going to have the episode out, but I'll give you a heads up.
Yeah.
And I'm just like really happy that we managed to do it.
I'm really glad that we've met in
Yay,
life.
me too.
And yes, I am just continually grateful for what you're doing with all of this. And
Awesome.
I look forward to
Season 3.
Season 3.
What's it gonna be? Next week on Audrey Helps Actors, we're not sure yet. We haven't decided on the episode. Depends on what gets edited. So yay! Stay tuned for that. Special thanks to Laura Spencer. I am so honored that she shared this journey with us, and I'm so happy for her, and I'm so proud of her, and more than anything, just the generosity that actors show day to day to me is so mind-blowing, and I'm so moved by it. It is literally giving me chills as I speak about it. That's the sort of community that I am so proud to be a part of. And I'm hoping that through this podcast, I'm encouraging the growth of a community that is generous and is sharing and puts camaraderie over competition, that has empathy and compassion and understanding, because that's what artists do. We are the storytellers, we are the light givers. And I really believe that what we're here to do is to provide understanding, to provide truth, to provide perspective, to provide entertainment. And this episode and her entire body of work is such a fantastic representation of all of those things. So thank you, Laura. I am honored that you came to share with me. This show is produced by Jesse Lumen, my now husband. What's up? You guys, he's still so handsome. This episode is edited by Patricia Cuffie-Jones and Thomas Snodgrass. Also, shout out to Thomas for the mic assistance now and then. It's still good to have your sound guy across the street. Show music is brought to you by Ari De Niro. Theme song assistance is by Aalok Mehta and 108 Hill. All right, you guys, don't forget your towel.